Closed captioning for Lakeland Currents is supported by the Minnesota Department of Commerce, Telecommunications Access Minnesota, and Nisswa Tax Service. Nisswa Tax Service, tax preparation for businesses and individuals. Across from City Hall in Nisswa and online at nisswatax.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to Lakeland Currents. I'm Ray Gildow, and our topic this evening is economic development in rural Minnesota. And I think we're going to change the way you think about what the rural economy is. It's really changing, and it's really different than what it was when I grew up, even what I thought it was 15 years ago. I have two experts here this evening, and they really are experts. They've been doing this a long time. Ben Winchester is let me get your title here, Research Fellow, Extension Center for Community Vitality, University of Minnesota. And Ben has been on our program before, did a great job, which is why we had him come back again this year.
And thank you.
And Bruce Schwartow is an extension educator in community economics at the University of Minnesota, and he is housed in the Rochester area.
That's right.
So thank you for driving all the way up here.
Oh, it's my pleasure to get back up here. I used to live in Little Falls, so
you did?
It's not that, it's still familiar country.
Okay. Well, both of you have been doing some really interesting research. I mean, you've been doing this for a number of years, and you're onto some things that are, I think, that are really going to change how educators, community leaders, and even people who live in rural areas think. So maybe, Ben, we could just start with you, and let's kick it off with what you'd kind of like to cover this evening.
Sure. I guess, part of our mission within the University of Minnesota Extension is to serve rural communities, especially in the area of community vitality where both Bruce and I work. And rural communities really have changed quite a bit over the past 50, 60 years. It used to be I worked in Morris for a number of years, and I drive from my hometown of Hancock to Morris, and every day I'd see corn and soybeans on the side of the road and think, this is a real rural place here. But as I started digging into the data, I realized that rural is a much more complex and diverse area than just the visuals give you a vision of. So as the data analysis really took over in my life, I started to see this real trend. And that was that the diversifying of rural communities took place a good 60, 70 years ago now, when agriculture used to be the primary industry. And the number of farms hit its peak in the 1940s or so, and then started to decline in considerable numbers, where today we have roughly a third of the number of farms and about 1/5 of the number of employees working in agriculture or an ag-related industry. So, and that's a national figure. And then in the probably 70s, we started to see a real rise in manufacturing. And, but in the past 15 years, manufacturing has declined 25% in Minnesota employment. And so we see this shift from ag to manufacturing, and all of these are providing a base of jobs in rural areas. And recently, especially in the past 15 years now, we've seen a rise in education and health services. And this includes educating our young kids, providing services to seniors across our rural areas, plus providing medical care to the general population. So these have been trends that paint a more broad picture of what's going on in our rural communities than just what one thinks about when you think of rural. It's usually equated with ag. But as we do our work, we know that the picture is much broader than agriculture, and that without a good understanding of what rural is, we're not going to be able to serve it effectively.
One of the things you talked about last year when you were on this program was the number of people who are actually moving back to the rural areas that are often hidden because they might be doing a business. Could you just talk just briefly about that?
Sure. We call them the brain gain of the newcomers, really, and that is where people aged 30 to 49, specifically in that pretty narrow age cohort, move from densely urban areas to rural Minnesota. And just about every rural Minnesota county saw an increase in this 30 to 49 age cohort. And they also bring with them their kids. So these newcomers, which really, this trend has been happening for 30 of the past 40 years. It's not new. It's not something we just found last year. This has actually been going on, and this has been helping to drive the diversification of our rural communities alike. So where a community in southwestern Minnesota may have had its base in agriculture, a community in north central may have had a base in timber, in northern Minnesota may have had a base in mining. These newcomers have been populating these areas, bringing with them their skills, their education, their knowledge, their networks, and really have helped reinvigorate our small towns. And it almost scares me to think where our small towns would be if we didn't have these newcomers coming back. I think we would be struggling more so than some communities are. There have been some serious restructurings in our small towns, and we'll talk about that on the retail side in just a few minutes here. But I think this provides real hope, and it shows that there is a societal preference for people to live in what we call low-density areas. People do not want to live in Hennepin or Ramsey County. And what we found there specifically is that outside of the 18 to 29 age cohorts, metropolitan counties do not attract people into them. So it's a very narrow age range that's attracted to urban areas, and a very wide age range that's attracted to rural areas.
How much has the internet helped that development for these people to come back?
Well, in a way, it's facilitated them to find out more about homes for sale. I mean, 20 years ago, it'd be very difficult to find out how many homes were for sale in the city of Hancock. So the internet definitely facilitates that, but it also provides an economic base. We've worked within Extension on a number of programs to bring broadband training to our business communities in rural Minnesota. So in partnership with the Blandon Foundation, who I know is a strong partner with a lot of organizations in the region here, they helped invest in our rural communities to bring up the technological literacy to the point that people can use the internet for marketing, can use it to buy products and services, and use it to provide customer service.
One of the things that you talked about are the winners of the 19th century may not be the winners of the 20th century. What do you mean by that?
Well, really small towns have served their function over the years, where initially, if you look at a map of the state of Minnesota, you see that towns are not randomly placed. They're along railway lines. And they were very specifically put every 8 to 12 miles because that was a good distance for them by horse and buggy to bring in agricultural products to the railway, which then would bring it to Chicago or to Kansas City or west. So the placement of our small towns is really a function of the transportation systems and the economy at the time. Now, if you think about what was the function of the system in the 50s, this is a post-transportation revolution. So as we saw the rise of regional centers start to come out, that's really the result of transportation systems taking hold and more of a consolidation of people into some outstate urban areas. So this is where we saw the rise of regional centers, like especially the bigger ones that Bruce will definitely talk about, the Rochester, the Duluth areas. But at the same time, you get secondary retail growth in places like the Marshall, Wilmer, Brainerd, Baxter area, and you've witnessed it around here for sure.
What does this mean to the regional planners?
Well, it's a very difficult job to keep up on the trends. I mean, even today, if you're doing rural economic development, it can be a real challenge to figure out what niche can you hit in a town under 2,500 people, as opposed to a town of 10,000. So there are economic strategies that differ significantly between those two places. But at the same time, there's some other globalization trends that are hitting us, and I'll call it the Amazon Prime effect. Is that, when you've got Amazon Prime effect. So Amazon has an option where you pay $79 a year and get free 2-day shipping on any item. Well, it all of a sudden becomes less cost effective for me and my family to drive 45 miles from Hancock to the nearest regional center to do our shopping at retail sections there, when we can literally sit on our phone or our laptop and add it to the cart, and once every couple weeks have it shipped to our door. It saves us on transportation costs, though, I mean, we're not eating out as much when we do that either. But at the same time, this is starting to have a real effect on the ability for people to obtain products, especially from retail establishments, because now our Main Street folks have to compete with the online folks, where the efficiencies and costs just aren't there for the Main Street folks. I mean, we first saw this on Main Street when we saw some of the big box retailers start to take hold. And how can you compete when you don't have the economy of scale in terms of purchasing? And now when you've got the internet, it just adds a whole nother layer of complexity into the ability for your local Main Street to compete.
What are you talking about when you talk about the 1099 and proprietor issues here?
Yeah, this is a very interesting trend that's been happening roughly for 15, 16 years. That folks, they call it the 1099 economy, and this is where individual people are contractors with a business. So say you're a business that does financial consulting, and you want a computer system built. Rather than having it done in-house, you may hire a consultant to come in, build the system, and then basically walk away. These 1099ers are generally very entrepreneurial people, and they live job to job. So it's no longer a long-term relationship that you have with a business. It's a short-term, goal-oriented, And really for the business, it's very cost effective. It's much easier for a business to have 10 contracts and have them end or have the flexibility of them end than it is to cover HR costs, to worry about doing payroll taxes. I mean, there are a number of amenities that businesses currently provide to their salaried and their paid employees that could be done away with, and show, I guess, some pretty significant cost savings in terms of HR. But we do know that proprietors, as these 1099ers, these individual consultants in a way, are all over the place. In north central Minnesota, anywhere between 40 to 60% of all workers in the Brainerd area here especially are sole proprietors, meaning they're individuals who, they run the gamut of all sorts of occupations. They can be individual electricians, they can do architectural planning, they can do telecommuting to a IT business in the Twin Cities. It's basically all across the board, but the key here is understanding that they're part of a diverse mix of an economic structure in your local community. And so as we look at the data, we have to be very cognizant of the fact that one data source may only count employees. Well, you only count it as an employee if you work for someone. If you work for yourself, you're not counted as an employee. And they are actually called non-employers. So to get a true mix of your employment picture, you look at both employers and non-employers.
That's really interesting. A term that I haven't heard before. Really, that's very interesting. Bruce, you've been doing some research and you've been looking at recent changes in Minnesota small towns, which is a lot of us. I come from a small town, small towns all around me. What are some of the interesting things that you're finding out?
Well, I think as Ben was mentioning, you look back in the 60s and we look at these small towns. And we used to do some trade center hierarchy work back early in the 60s, and you'd see every small convenience town had let's say a butcher shop, a grocery store, someplace to eat, but they'd also have other businesses there as well that we wouldn't really consider being in small towns anymore. Jewelry stores, a number of these things that when we look at trade center hierarchies now, they're not nearly the same. We started seeing this consolidation going on to regional centers, like we were talking about, of the retail businesses. The towns that were like 400 or 500 people used to have more stores. Well, people in about the 70s and 80s really started going to, let's say, the medium-sized centers. Let's say a county seat, or maybe even a little bit further at times. And then we started even seeing, even going into the 80s and 90s, that they were driving even further. I think if we take a look at a map of Minnesota that we brought with, we take a look at where some of the counties that have been the regional centers. The counties that are in blue are counties that were getting more sales than what we'd anticipate based on their population. You notice down on the right-hand corner, you've got Rochester with Olmsted County. Bottom center, you've got Mankato. Then you see St. Cloud in the middle of the state in Stearns County. And you see a bunch of blue that's up in north central Minnesota. And that, again, is people, they're selling more there than what they were expecting. Primary reason for that, a lot of visitors coming into that area to vacation.
So it's a tourism issue.
It's a tourism issue that really helps them there. But you can see that, let's say, around Rochester and Olmsted County, which is a blue county down in the bottom, see red counties all around them. Those are counties that basically the people are leaving their counties there and heading into Rochester to shop. So we were seeing this consolidation that's been happening. And that really started happening quite a bit in about the 70s and 80s. And then we started seeing the big box stores coming into some of the smaller towns, the towns that were about 10,000 or 15,000. We started seeing big box stores come into Minnesota in those communities. Kind of what that did is it stopped as much of that migration from the rural counties into the big regional centers and kind of put them into the smaller localized centers, like the Marshall and the Brainards and Little Falls and places like that. It kept them coming to towns like that rather than, let's say, continuing on to St. Cloud. So it's been those types of things that have really been the change. I think when we take a look at over the years, the big centers really grew, but rural Minnesota really hasn't dropped as much as what some people might think. All in all, when we look back in 1990, I think 37% of the sales, retail sales that happened in Minnesota, happened in rural Minnesota. When we take a look at 2009, 37% of the retail sales happened in rural Minnesota.
Really? It hasn't changed.
The basis hasn't changed that much. I think that's kind of a surprise to a lot of people when you take a look. Where is the sales distributed? Basically, it's stayed this kind of same percentage. We really haven't seen a big change in that.
So do you think that era of building these big box stores has slowed down? Has it stopped?
Well, I don't think we've seen nearly as many big box stores built in some of the communities. We are seeing where one town has one big box store, maybe a second one is coming in. And so we're seeing some changes in the marketplace. When the first one comes in, the stores that usually lose are the hardware stores, the building material stores, and also places that sell groceries. When we see the second big box store come in, what loses is the first big box store.
Really?
The second big box store usually affects the first big box store more than it is going to affect the other stores in town.
Really? That's interesting.
And I think the surprising thing, when a big box store comes to town, it doesn't mean the death of a city. I think it changes the way people operate. We see, let's say, as Ben mentioned, when you go to town, you eat out. You see the places that restaurants really increase in sales. But you also, surprisingly, you see an increase in the clothing stores. And that was a result that I really wasn't anticipating, is that clothing store sales picked up when a big box store came to town. That isn't where they bought most of their things. They basically yes, they bought some clothing at the big box stores, but they also supported other types of clothing stores in the community, and it made them more available for them to use.
That's very interesting. I think, being that I live in a small rural community, we do base the health of our community on that retail sector downtown. Mm-hmm. And when, I live in Staples, and we've got St. Cloud not far away, Fargo not far away, Brainerd not far away, and a lot of the people that used to shop in Staples or in Wadena now go to those other communities. So we don't see the clothing store. We don't have a clothing store per se in Staples. It used to be you couldn't even buy a pair of socks. We do have a place you can buy a pair of socks now. So, but I think the thing I appreciate about both of you is you have the positive attitude that our rural communities are not dying, they're not going away, they're healthy, they just are different, yes, aren't they? I mean, that's really kind of your message here.
Yeah, the retail stores need to compete differently than what they did in the past. They need to take a look at different markets, different marketing techniques, but yeah, they still can have some success. You do see the towns that are, let's say, 500, 600, they're having a difficult time, and it's difficult in those situations. We're probably not going to see a lot of retail maintained there unless you're doing something unique. I brought along a picture of a store that's in Lanesboro, and it doesn't look like much of a store when you take a look at it. The little general store down in Lanesboro. But it fits the need of what's needed there. They supply canoe rentals out of there. They supply the things that are needed for a tourism town. And so it's interesting when you take a look, can a small town still compete even though they haven't got the big box stores? They can if they look at their marketplace and say, what can we do to succeed? And they make it work.
How big a town is Lanesboro?
Oh, Lanesboro is... I want to say it's in that neighborhood of 1,000 people, but it is the bed and breakfast capital of Minnesota.
So was that a strategic planning process for that community, or did it just happen?
There was some strategy put into that. It is part of a major bike trail that came into that area, and one of the first legs that was built at Lanesboro. Then they really took on with they named themselves the bed and breakfast capital of Minnesota, and they have probably more bed and breakfast per capita than any other place in the state.
So it's a stopover a lot for the bikers.
It's a stopover for the bikers, but then they also brought in a live theater. A major player said this town needs something different, and a person came to town and brought live theater there. You have people coming from New York and Chicago to intern at this theater during the summer, and they're doing major plays. I mean, it's just not lighthearted. Well, we do melodramas in Manorville, Minnesota, This is not melodramas. This is true heavy acting.
And how many people does it seat, roughly?
I can't say that I've been in there. If I understand correctly, it's in that neighborhood of 150 people.
Okay.
But it is a draw.
It's unique.
It is unique. And between the bed and breakfasts and the unique restaurants that they have in town, they bring people to town, and that town is full in the summers.
Now, one of your themes in your study was which cities succeed.
Right.
And what have you found out about that?
The things that really require a city to succeed is, don't think yourself disadvantaged. Look for opportunities. What makes yourself unique? And, help businesses that are starting off, that bring something unique to town. You really need also a community that is willing to support its local businesses. If something starts, encourage people to be visiting the business and really talk it up. I think we're also seeing, part of what we did this last year was really helping businesses be found on the internet, and especially on mobile devices, so that when people are coming to town, they can see what's there, they know what's available for the businesses, for the tourists to come in and see or make stopovers. But it takes a dedication. It takes people saying, yeah, we want this to work, and they're going to help support businesses. That's one of the keys that really shows up. But finding your identity. Lanesboro definitely found their identity. You look at other towns like Kenyon, Minnesota, or towns like that. They find their own niche of what makes them special and really build up on it.
And I'll just follow up. I think that, it's really important, this message that Bruce is sharing here, in that it really fits in with how we're reimagining our rural places. And that if you're continuing to imagine your rural place in terms of something that doesn't exist anymore, it doesn't help you move forward. And this isn't to say there aren't folks who have lost considerable amounts in our small communities over the years. When we see this restructuring that's happened, especially in the smallest communities, they've lost their Main Street, they lost their retail. We see the same thing in my hometown of Hancock. It's a struggle. But we are comfortable knowing that we aren't the one-stop shop. That when people need certain products and services, they're not going to look to our town. But it is our mission to provide a safe community, a community with decent, affordable housing. And so we're a bedroom community, and we're happy with that. But at the same time, so as you reimagine what you are, it helps you reimagine where you're going to be in the future years.
You talked about the drop in agriculture and the 25% drop in manufacturing. Are you seeing some growth in some areas, in some industries and businesses in Minnesota?
It is education and health services now makes up 37% of all rural employment. Manufacturing makes up 13%, ag and the ag-related industries make up about 6%. So within that, even within those, you're just over 50%. And so the rest of the 50% are still almost across the board. And again, when we talk about the rise in proprietors or the 1099ers, that isn't in any specific industry.
Area. Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's kind of across the board. People are dabbling in new things. And we know that when there's an economic downturn, people turn to be proprietors more so. They try out more things. If their hours got cut, they want to make up for that. So people's ingenuity really takes over. And I expect out of this real economically troubled time that we've been through the past number of years, that we're going to see real seeds of success that have been planted in our rural communities for the years to come.
You talk about in your study that geography matters more than community size. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think when we, like as the example with Lanesboro, it's a small town, yet it's managed to succeed. I think two examples that make a little bit of difference. Casson, which I live, and New Prague, which is just south of the Twin Cities. Casson has a very hard time maintaining any kind of retail. It sits 14 minutes outside of Rochester, right on a 4-lane highway. Most of the people work in Rochester as compared to working in Casson. So geographically, it's just too convenient to do all your shopping in Rochester. But you look at other areas that are, let's say, gateway to lakes areas or have something unique areas to them, they gain some advantages. So it really doesn't matter what the size is. It kind of matters, okay, where are you located? what are you competing with, and what do you have to offer people?
You probably haven't done studies in like North Dakota or South Dakota, but are our rural communities doing pretty well for themselves compared to some of our neighboring states, or is it similar? I mean, they're probably maybe more agricultural than we are as a state.
Well, when we take a look, at retail sales, of course, all the major big four cities grew. 94% of the next layer of cities grew and had sales growth. And if you go down another layer, like to the Little Falls size, 76% of them had sales increases over a period of time. We're doing well. And I think, I haven't seen all the figures on other states, but really, I think Minnesota is doing well.
That's good to hear. And as I said, I appreciate your optimism that you're really promoting, that we're not dying, we're not going away. In fact, if you look in northern Minnesota, the mining, there's been some major announcements in the last couple of days about a number of new jobs coming through the mining industry. Our forestry industry right now, unfortunately, has been hit pretty hard with about a 40% drop. But there are jobs that some of those people have been able to shift over to, so I'm sure that helps a little bit. But I do appreciate your optimism. Do you work with community leaders in helping develop strategic plans?
Well, I get called into many cities to take a look at the retail analysis and say, okay, what are opportunities for us? What are areas that we have competitive advantages, and what can we grow with them? So yes, we do get called in on community basis. We don't work with businesses one-on-one. We work with community and looking at their policies, maybe developing some strategies for what can we do to make our business climate better.
At the same time, I think we've got a base of research that shows that there are some opportunities for rural areas to compete.
Great. Well, it's really interesting information, and we're going to post your website at the end of the show so people can get in touch with you if they'd like to find out more information about what you're doing. Perfect. I think what you're doing is really good stuff, and it's encouraging to hear that Minnesota isn't dying and going down the vine. We look different, but we're still looking healthy. Ben and Bruce, thank you very much for appearing on our show tonight. Appreciate it very much. It's a very interesting topic. You've been watching Lakeland Currents, where we're talking about what you're talking about. We're taking the month of December off so we can have some of our employees take vacations, and we'll be back in the first week of January. Have a happy holiday season. We'll see you in January.